Did you know that the by far biggest book launch mistake is to not have a launch plan or strategy in place? Most children's authors, or most authors in general really, think that by simply hitting the proverbial publishing button, that things will just start to happen on their own and that people will just come. Sadly, that's not the case. So in this video, I will share the 5 most important things you will need to successfully launch your beautiful children's book. Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. If you're like most authors, you are very creative and love anything that involves you being creative. Something that most authors don't really look forward to is the planning, marketing, and promoting of their books. Unfortunately, our book's success very much depends on these things, including a well-planned launch strategy with a successful book launch. But what is a book launch? What does it entail, and why is it so important? Most think of a book launch as a single moment, usually when we hit the proverbial publish button, right? When our book becomes available for purchase for the very first time. What I would encourage you to do, however, is to think of a book launch as a period of time instead of just a single moment. And during this period, we want to make sure to really push our book to get this initial boost in activity, because it will be this boost of initial sales that will set our book up for its future success. Many of us, me included when I published my first book nearly 10 years ago, think that the publishing itself will somehow generate the selling of our book. But in reality, it is us authors who will have to be the ones creating this initial hype to generate this initial burst of sales. And that's really important because that's what will kick in Amazon's algorithm. That's what will let Amazon know that your book is in demand, which in turn will prompt Amazon to put your book instead of others in front of more potential buyers. Always keep in mind that the number one thing that Amazon cares about is to make sales. So if its system sees that your book is selling well, it will want to make sure to show your book to more people, because logically, showing your book to more people would essentially result in selling more of your book. And that's what I mean by Amazon's algorithm. So during that initial launch period, we are essentially training this algorithm. Now, having written and ghostwritten more than 50 children's books, I have come to see that there are 5 main things you will want to make sure you have in place to provide for a successful launch of your book. And so that's what we will go over next. Number 1, and I already know you won't like hearing this, but number 1 is to have an active personal social media account in place. Now, what social media platform doesn't really matter, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, or even LinkedIn, for example. What does matter though is that it's your personal account and that you are active on it, meaning you regularly interact with others on that platform. And the reason you will want to have such a personal, active social media account is to reach as many of those people you already know, people that are already in your life, because that will be one of the main ways to share about your beautiful children's book, to get the word out. Number 2 on my list of things I would recommend you have in place for your book launch is a launch team. Now, this is big and something I wish I had known with my first couple of books. Having a launch team is an absolute game changer and makes things so much easier. A launch team is essentially a group of people that will help and support you during your book launch by doing 2 things. Your launch team members will post their reviews of your book over on Amazon right after you publish it. And your launch team members will help you spread the wonderful news by sharing about your book, usually through their own social media channels. It's like having your own ambassadors, and so that's why having a launch team is so helpful and beneficial. Number 3 on my list of things I would recommend you have in place for your book launch, and that will make the launch a whole lot easier, is to have an ebook version of your book available. Now, I have created a whole separate video on why having an ebook version is so important and beneficial, so be sure to watch that as well. I've linked to that in the description below. But having an ebook essentially allows you to provide your launch team with an inexpensive way to download your book. And you will want your launch team to download your book before leaving their review, because that makes their review a verified one, which again, I talk more about in the other video. So having an ebook version of your book will make your launch a whole lot easier. So I would encourage you to consider making this part of your launch. Number 4 on my list of things I would recommend you have in place for your book launch is a goal, a specific measurable goal, because having such a goal will give us something to strive or work towards. So what do I mean by specific and measurable? Now, we all have the more general goal to have a great book launch, right? However, a specific and measurable goal is, for example, the number of reviews you want to get during your launch, or the number of books you want to sell during your launch. And having such a goal is important because, again, it's something specific we can measure and work towards, and therefore helps us prepare. For example, if our specific measurable goal is to get 30 reviews for our book during our launch, then this number helps us determine the size of our launch team. Because, and I share this in my How to Self-Publish a Children's Book, only about 30% of your launch team will end up leaving a review. So if you want 30 reviews, you would have to have around 90 people on your launch team. So that's why having such a specific measurable goal is so important to a successful launch. And number 5 on my list of things I would recommend you have in place for your book launch is to have an actual launch strategy in place, because this will ensure you're getting all your ducks in a row. A launch strategy is a plan that mostly does 2 things. It makes sure everything about your children's book is optimized, and you know exactly what to do on each day during your launch period. Because as I said in the beginning, a launch is really a period of time, not just a single moment or single day. And by optimizing, I mean things like your book cover and your book title, your author bio, your compatible pricing, whether you should be enrolled in KDP Select or not, the description of your book, and the best categories and keywords for your book. And all these are important to the success of your children's book. And I have separate videos for each of these that I have linked to below in the description. In my How to Self-Publish a Children's Book, I actually shared a printable launch sequence sheet. But if you're looking for detailed day-by-day and step-by-step instructions that guide you through your book launch, you may also be interested in what I call the 30-day launch mastery, which essentially takes your launch and breaks it up into 30 days worth of small, easily digestible steps you can take every day for 30 days. And at the end of those 30 days, you will have gone through your entire launch. And this also includes an actual calculator that will help you determine when to start with day 1 of your 30-day launch if you have a specific launch date in mind. So I have linked to that below as well. Having worked with so many of my readers, clients, and students, I know that it's the launching of our book that makes many of us really nervous. But by having these 5 things in place, an active social media account, a launch team, an ebook version of your book, a specific measurable goal, and an actual launch strategy, by having these elements in place, that's what will really help with preventing you from feeling overwhelmed so that you can focus on what really matters. And that's to enjoy the fruit of your labor, to celebrate your beautiful accomplishment of writing and publishing your very own children's book. I so hope you found this helpful so you can prepare for your own successful book launch. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. Here's to a successful launch of your children's book. Bye.